Hey, Tom.
Hi, Dean. How are you?
Good.
So let me see. The numbers just came from my book club.
Les and Stephen, welcome.
Let's see here. Yeah, it looks like right now why are we not seeing who is here?
Les and Stephen.
Oh, hello, Steve Denny. Hello, Les Landis. Glad you could join us last minute, Les. And there are others who have registered. Others who have registered who are not here yet, but we'll dive into it in about 1 minute. How about, Dean? And you're going to share your screen, and this is going to be one of those. We keep talking, Dean, about whether we should share the replay or not, but more people would show up live if we didn't. But we do, so it goes. So
we do, exactly.
Yep. Okay, why don't you share your screen? Let's jump right to it.
All righty, let's do it.
And by the way, we have some very smart business people in the audience, so we have to be on our A game today.
I don't know if we can handle it. We'll see, I guess, right? Awesome. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, RJ, good seeing you. Long time no see.
All right, away we go. How about?
Let's do it. You want to lead us off, Tom?
No, this is your show today.
All right, well, no problem. Welcome, everyone. RJ, Les, and Steve, and anybody else that's watching on the recording. My name is Dean Isaacs, and my friend in the gray sweatshirt is Tom Ruich. And we're going to be talking a little about tips to identify and remove revenue roadblocks in your business today. So we've got 5 tips in 25 minutes, and we'll have plenty of time once we get through all of those to answer questions. So feel free to drop questions in the chat or raise your hand, and we'll jump right in with that. And we'll do a little more introductions once we get through the five tips today. Tom, you have anything to add before we hop into the first slide?
Let her rip.
Cool. All right, here we go. So tip number 1, quit wasting your time and choose a viable target market. So we're going to hit each of these. We've got some bullet points for each that we'll go through. You want me to lead this one off, Tom?
Sure. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So many of you have probably heard of a guy named Seth Godin, and he has the belief that businesses should find their smallest viable market, right? Which is counterintuitive to a lot of entrepreneurs that think, I've got to sell as much of my stuff to as many people as possible, and that will increase my odds of getting more sales and growing my business. But there's a lot of reasons why that doesn't work. So smallest viable market is a concept that really allows you to focus. A lot of us have heard this concept of, you got to niche down, you got to, get clear on all of those things. And I think we sometimes forget why. Why do we need to pick our niche? Why do we need to get really, really focused? And Tom's our storyteller, our messaging guy on the call. But from my perspective, one of the most important reasons is this concept of focus, right? How can you possibly develop your messaging, develop your offer, and get it in front of the right people if you don't know who those right people are and what they care about? And ultimately, if our goal as professional service providers is to be the thought of problem solver for a particular industry and a particular problem, we have to know what that is, right? We have to put that out to the world and not dilute our marketing and our messaging. So for me, bigger is not always better. For that reason, that's a huge driver in my mind. And as you focus and as you understand your niche, you get to know how they think, right? You get to know how your prospect thinks, how they communicate the problems they're trying to solve, that you have the ability to help solve as well.
Yeah, I'll jump in there, Les.
Yeah.
Les. Hello, Les. Are you still here? I'll jump in here, Dean. The principles that I teach at Story Power Marketing and the stories that you tell are all about your prospects and your clients. It's not all about you and your legendary origin story. That if you're going to move clients, you have to create content and tell stories that reflect the journey that they're on. And it's so much more difficult to do that if you have this broad market, business people. I help business people. Well, a lot of stories there. And so the roadblock is that we spend an extraordinary amount of time. Maybe a roadblock might not be the metaphor. We spend an extraordinary amount of time driving around the desert, or spitting in the wind. There are all sorts of metaphors, right? The more you hone into a viable target market, the more that you know their story, the more you're able to connect with them, the better your odds of standing out as the expert and stand out in your field, in your niche. So really, really critical thing to drive revenue and revenue growth.
Yeah. I wanted to share a thought, actually.
Oh, can we do that in the Q&A, Les?
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
No problem.
Okay.
All right. So let's move on to the next.
Yep.
Get past limiting beliefs. So mind your mindset. So this really is about us, right? Small business owners, right? We tend to be the chief marketing officer, the chief salesperson, the person that delivers all the services, the person that does the books, you name it. We are the business in so many ways. And so therefore we become the roadblock to growth, right? And in this particular case, it's the block between our ears that limits the business growth, not so much our time and abilities. So the first bullet here is the S word. It's the second S word that came to mind. So the second S word is sales. I'm not going to say what the first S word is. So getting over your fear of sales and selling, what we find is that so many business owners, they got into business because they're an expert. They're an expert in something, right? Marketing, they're an expert in operations, they're an expert in accounting and finance, or the list goes on and on. But they never realized that they had to be in sales as well. And they find themselves in a reluctant sales role by default. Mm-hmm. And so when I say sales, many people get this image of like a 1984 used car sales guy with the plaid suit and the slick back hair, right? That's not what modern selling is all about. And so the fear of selling is often the reflection of what we believe, how we've been sold to in the past. And so we immediately push back from this concept of selling. So getting over the fear of selling as a business owner is a huge roadblock in business. And one of the easiest ways to do that is don't think about selling, right? If you show up on a call, right? If you want to call it a connection call or a discovery call or whatever you want to call it, I wouldn't call it a sales meeting, right? Show up to serve and not sell. Show up to collaborate and not consult. And switching the mindset of the purpose of the call changes how we feel about the call. So for me, that's a place to start. And all of that is founded in asking great, insightful questions and showing genuine interest, right? Sometimes these sales calls, connection calls, if you will, they're not people that will buy from you, but maybe you can help them in another way. Maybe you can connect them to somebody else. Yep. Maybe that you could share some advice. Maybe you could point them in a different direction. So the concept of showing up to share and to give and not to sell changes how we think about the sales call and the whole selling.
Yeah, and the roadblock, the limiting belief, the mindset problem is applicable way before you get to the consultation call. I mean, I think there are a lot of people who will watch this video and think, well, geez, I wish I had a lot of people on consultation calls where I could mess those up. You know, let's one of the problems is in the marketing in general and the email. And I'm going to share with you an email tip that I think is really, really important. There are a lot of experts out there who talk about, well, send this many emails that are valuable and helpful and provide tips, and then send some smaller percentage of emails that are salesy, that have the pitch. And that's the most rotten advice, rooted in this negative mindset and this fear of sales. It's rooted in this belief that what you're sharing and what you're selling is not valuable. The emails are valuable, the tips are valuable, the other stuff is the yucky stuff.
Yep.
Forget that BS. That's complete and utter BS. I teach regarding email that every email that you send is valuable. It doesn't have to be story powered, as I teach, but every email that you send is valuable, and that the call to action that should be in every email is a next step. If this was helpful for you, if what I'm saying is resonating with you, if the picture I'm painting of the journey you can take is a journey you wish to take, then the next step is to get on a call with me, or to buy this product, or to sign up for this workshop, or whatever the case may be. And it's not yucky. It's a continuation of the value journey that you are offering and that you're providing. And that requires a mindset shift. That requires you to believe that what you are giving, what you are selling, is a gift, not an imposition. You're not a pest. You're guiding them. You are helping them. You are serving them. And if you believe that, if you can make that mindset shift, then you're going to be so much more effective. And in order to do it, third bullet, you have to adopt a mindset practice. This has to be something you do on a regular basis. We're not here to teach how to do that, but whether it's read the right books, or hire a coach who can help you with that, or go visit some websites to teach you how to adopt a mindset practice, do it, and do it consistently. It will help you get past this revenue roadblock. It will.
Yeah. That limiting belief is something as humans we all deal with. But I think when we when we feel like we have to sell, we change the relationship dynamic with the prospect. And all of a sudden they become the parent, we become the child, and everything is like, can we, should we, how do we? And it changes the power structure. So if you go into any of these conversations, whether it's via email or a call or a Zoom, as a peer-to-peer relationship where your time is as equally as valuable as theirs, it changes how we feel, and it changes how they feel and respond to you as well. So don't create that parent-child relationship subconsciously.
Yep.
Okay, we'll keep rolling. We've got 3 more to go. Get out of your way. Get out of your own way, I should say. All right, get out of the way. Get out of the way of your team. Get out of the way of growing the business. So, as I said earlier, we get into business to do the thing that we love to do, that we're an expert in. And in addition to taking on this reluctant sales role, you're also now responsible for running the business, which often means running yourself, but could be running teams and so on and so forth. So understanding your role, I think, is something that's often we don't stop and think about as a small business owner. And what is our role? And this sort of concept of zone of genius that I'm sure we've all heard of is really important. And early on, you have to do all the things, whether they're in your zone of genius or not. But as you start to grow and create revenue, you have a very clear opportunity to sort of step back from certain things. So defining your role in your business, I think, is something that we often don't spend enough time talking about.
I totally agree. Give me the next bullet, Dean, and I'll continue that. You have to commit to building a team. And the next bullet, I think, builds on that. You have to learn to delegate, not abdicate. That's a expression that we borrow from Michael Gerber, who wrote the E-Myth books.
Yep.
And the idea here, the roadblock here, is that we spend time as our business gets to a certain level. We spend time doing the things that we should be paying other people to do. And it becomes a roadblock. We're not getting anywhere in our business. And for some people, it's scary because you have to invest time up front. You have to invest money to begin to build out and take things off your plate. But unless you take things off your plate and delegate, you will be stuck. You'll keep bumping into those hurdles that are keeping you from growing and keeping you from getting over the hump. The difference between delegation and abdication is you can't just hire somebody and say, do this now, your responsibility, without properly setting it up, properly training them, properly delegating. If you just sweep it off your plate, what you're doing is handing a bunch of piles of stuff and a broken plate to somebody else, and they're bound to break it, and you're bound to spend time fixing what they're breaking as opposed to cheering what they're building.
Yeah.
And it's just a critical thing. I see this in just about every small business I help, and also every business I've run. There's a point at which this revenue roadblock bites you, and you have to work past it as quickly as you possibly can.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. And how many times have you heard, have we all heard, well, I tried to delegate and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Right. And the truth is that you probably didn't delegate, you probably abdicated, right?
Yeah.
And or there wasn't a system, there wasn't a clear check-in, there wasn't a clear outcome. That's not good delegation. So, and the other delegation roadblock I hear a lot is I don't have time to delegate, right? Well, the truth is, if you do it once, you invest your time once, and then you get all of that time back.
Yep. You don't have time not to delegate is
right.
the answer.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So get out
What's
of your
number 4,
way.
Dean?
Number 4 is stop selling yourself short. Raise your prices now. I'm just going to go ahead and bring up the bullets. So are we in a recession? Are we not in a recession? What's going on, right? So I don't know, Tom, if you hear this from your clients right now, but a lot of mine are trying to move forward. They're trying to grow. They're trying to do all the things they're trying to do. And when I say, when was the last time you raised prices? And they don't remember, it's time to raise prices. I don't care what's going on in the economy. It's time to do so. And there's a lot of fear around, right, increasing prices, right? What are you hearing right now?
Yeah, I hear the same. And here's the thing. When the economy is uncertain, a lot of people retreat. A lot of people lower their prices. A lot of people curl up in the fetal position and stop pushing forward. And there's actually opportunity on many, many, many fronts. And go to that third bullet, which ties back to the first point, that if you focus on your minimum viable market and you properly niche and you properly position yourself as a leader, you establish value that is priceless. I will use that word, priceless. And modernizing your pricing model is about not getting stuck in here is I charge $95 an hour or $135 an hour or whatever it may be. Value-based pricing models where you can say, this is going to be the outcome that you're going to achieve. This is what you get if you work with me. Long view, all these sorts of things. And when you do that, you can justify higher prices. And oh, by the way, the fastest way to increase revenue is to get people who are already paying you to pay you more.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a fact. That's simple. And if you can get over your fear of, well, they're not going to go for it, or I'm going to have a harder time landing new clients, or whatever the case may be, what you'll find is that all of those fears of raising prices rarely come to bear, and all of the benefits of raising prices usually are realized.
Yeah. The pricing one, I think sometimes also comes back to we talked about it earlier, limiting beliefs, right? And what's between our ears and not, if we aren't our ideal prospect, which in many cases we're not, then we shouldn't worry about what we think about pricing. It's what they think about the pricing. And you mentioned the value-based pricing, Tom. I think that's a really huge opportunity for revenue growth. It's not as the seller, as the service provider, our perception of value. It has to be the buyer's perception of value. So during this kind of prospecting, dialogue, nurturing, building, relationship building process, it's your job to understand how your prospect perceives and measures value. And then you've got something you can measure against. Right? It's not what we think, it's what they think.
All the more reason to operate in a niche. In order to do that, you need a smaller niche market.
Exactly. So if you're trying to figure out how to price a project and you say it's going to be this number of hours and how much can I charge per hour no, that's the base price that you build your value model on top of. That's the bare minimum just to keep the lights on, right? But you got to add that value-based component on top, and that has to be driven from the conversations you have.
Yep.
All right, we'll roll on to number 5. Quit flying blind. Understand why prospects don't buy. All right, so we've got a couple, 3 bullet points here. So we've talked a little about the conversations, the selling conversations, the pricing conversations. You go through all of that stuff, and ultimately you want a prospect to do what? To say, yes, when can we start? But sometimes it doesn't happen, right? So there's a lot of reasons that drive the no or the indecision. We'll go down through each of these bullet points. Why people with an urgent problem are the wrong market to target, which may sound counterintuitive. And Tom and I, we had a good conversation about this the other day about why this is the case. But the smallest percentage of your viable market are ready to buy. Maybe it's 5%, maybe it's 7 or 8%. They've got a problem, they know they need to solve, and they're actually ready to buy. It's the smallest percentage of your viable market, but it's also the most targeted group in your market too. Everybody's hitting them up because they're probably very active. They're probably jumping on sales calls with other people, and it's the most competitive space to target. So who should we be focusing on? If you take a step back and you think about the other, let's say 90% of your market, they're in a various stages of their buyer's journey, right? Some don't even know they've got a problem they need to solve yet. Some know they have a problem they need to solve, and they may be starting to do some exploration. Others are actively looking, but they're not ready to jump on a sales call yet. So those are the curious and engaged group, is what I call them. So they really want to learn more, but they're not actually ready to have a sales call. That's actually the group you should be targeting. They're the next closest to buying, and often the least prospected, because salespeople want to get on a call with someone that's ready to buy. And so why would you play in that crowded space? So that's who I believe you need to be focusing on. And there are a lot of ways to target and engage with those people, which we don't have time to talk about today. But think about that group. They're curious, they're engaged, but they're not ready to have a sales conversation yet.
Yeah, I like it, Dean. And I'll offer a slight revision to that first bullet, even though I participated in writing that first bullet. Why people with an urgent problem are the wrong market to target. Probably better to say why it's wrong to focus only on the people who have the most urgent problem. Go ahead and target them. You know, they have the urgent problem. You can solve it, and if you can draw them in, that's great. But Dean's point that it is the most competitive, it's the most busy, everybody is hounding them, and so forth, is a critical idea. The RJ Redden here is on the call, and RJ Redden sells, and I'm underselling her when I say this, but she sells bots. Okay. market sophistication, right? You've got people who are trying to lead gen and trying to convert traffic to their website into warm prospects and so forth. And at the very, very, very far end of the spectrum, you have people who understand that a solution to this problem is to have better AI-powered chat bots on your website and in different channels that can engage the prospects, and away you go. And it's a tiny percentage of the market. And absolutely, you know, if you can run into those people and get their attention versus all of the other competitors in the space, great. But there are a lot of people out there who are a step behind that. They're thinking about, my website's not performing as well. Why am I seeing a lot of, you know, I just paid all this money for SEO or PPC to drive traffic to my website. Why am I seeing traffic but not seeing sales? Yep. So forth. Those are the people that Dean's talking about, understanding who your prospects are and why they don't buy. In some cases, it might be they don't have the authority. Some cases, it might be they don't have the budget. In some cases, it might be that they don't have the desire, and different places in the market. And in some cases, they might not have any knowledge about what it is that your solution may be, sophistication about what the answers are to the problem. I often talk about this notion of marketing to the maybes. If you break it up into 3 simple groups, Group A being the people who have the authority, the budget, and the desire, and they're ready to buy, they have their hand on their wallet, and you have their attention. That tiny percentage of people will respond to your marketing messages that you're putting out there on billboards, via carrier pigeon, via SEO, via PPC, via LinkedIn, whatever the case may be. Tiny percentage. And if you can get them, good. The opposite end of the spectrum, they know the problem, it's already been solved, they have a solution, they're happy, it's very unlikely they're gonna go elsewhere, or they know you and they would never possibly buy from you, whatever. I mean, flat out, absolutely 100% no. If you said, are you interested? No. The middle of that spectrum are the maybes, this vast spectrum of people who, they want to grow their business, they want to convert traffic to engage prospects. They may know nothing about bots or really even websites, but they have some desire. And if you can communicate with them in a way that speaks to the journey that they're on. Oh, are you a business person trying to engage prospects, but you don't know how, and you're frustrated that you think there are all sorts of people out there and you have a valuable thing to sell. And if you can talk to them about the journey they're on and how you can support them, they'll raise their hand if you give them a reason to say, tell me more.
Yeah.
And tell me more could be sign up for my email list, download my free lead magnet, sign up for a seminar, sign up for a 5 and 25 event, whatever the case may be. And that's what strategic marketing to the maybes and lead generation is all about. You have to understand why your prospects don't buy. You have to give them an opportunity to raise their hand. And you have to recognize that in most cases, it's going to be a journey and an ongoing engagement conversation, not the, hey, I happen to get myself in front of that tiny percentage of people who are ready now. I said, pleased to meet you, will you marry me? And they said yes. Right. That's not how it happens most of the time. So focus on who you should be communicating with, how to do it, give them an opportunity to market, or excuse me, to raise their hand, and then engage them consistently with email or, other channels. There are other ways to engage. I happen to believe that email as an ongoing engagement mechanism on a regular basis is the most effective and most helpful.
Yeah, that's gold, Tom. I would add one other thing that came to mind as you were describing that. you have a distinct opportunity to influence the maybes. You have very little opportunity to influence the ready to buys because they've already made a decision. I'm going with this web developer or this web developer or this digital agency they've already made the decision of what they're going to buy. They're just down to the who, and sometimes the who comes down to the price. But the maybes, no, they have a problem to solve and they haven't decided how they're going to solve it yet. So you have an opportunity to influence them that you don't have the further they are into their buying decisions, their decision-making process too. So creates more opportunity and higher conversion rates because you engage at that level.
Bingo. Yep.
All right, so that's our 5 in 25, Tom, and we hit it. We are 1 minute past the hour. We did pretty good.
Yeah, that's 30, 25.
Well,
close.
we started it. After the intros and so on, we didn't start.
Yeah.
On the half hour. So nonetheless, we will before we open it up to questions, Tom, I know you know everybody on the call, but why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the crew again? Let us know what you do and tell us about yourself.
I will do that. I'm Tom, Story Power Marketing in beautiful St. Louis, Missouri, USA, and coaches and authors, consultants, anybody who is trying to package their expertise for sale to serve clients will hire me to power up their creative content and storytelling, because most of them are still dishing out the same old blah, 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 boring content that's putting prospects to sleep. And then when the prospects tune out and move on, they feel frustrated and stuck. So I'm teaching them how to turn their content from boring to brilliant, how to transform the marketing process from frustrating to fruitful and fun, and how to transform the bottom line from subpar to profitable, highly profitable. And say again.
Spectacular.
And my bottom line is that when you can reach out to a market with creative, story-powered content that makes you stand out, you will be the one whom prospects choose to do business with. So my website, storypowermarketing.com. My email list, I think everybody on the call is on the list, but for those watching the replay, my email list, storypowermarketing.com/email. And I practice what I preach and educate and inform and entertain many days a week, Monday through Friday. And I will soon have a new program out called Email Marketing Power. That's all about how to do the things we've been talking about today, how to turn emails into clients.
Nice. Thanks, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
And yours is one of the few emails that I look forward to and actually read. I got to tell you.
He's still my beating heart. That's very nice.
And I'm sure my validation is really important to you too, but nonetheless.
That is important to me, Dean. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's all sincerity. It is. I do read them. So my business Vantage Group, we work with B2B professional services firms to help them identify and eliminate the revenue roadblocks in their business. And we've touched on a few of them certainly today. So our goal is to move businesses from stuck and frustrated to profitable and growing as quickly as they can. And we really do that through a very strategic first approach. And we get business growth strategy, sales and marketing all aligned, and then support them throughout the implementation as well. So they can go from being that stuck, frustrated, trying to just pour more time, money into their business to actually seeing it grow in a measurable way. We do that through consulting. We also have a mastermind for business owners as well that works down in the weeds, right? Getting stuff done and accountability and support and so forth. So been doing it for close to 20 years, which is kind of scary, but nonetheless. My link up on the screen, Revenue Roadblocks quiz, that's a free Revenue Roadblocks scorecard. If anybody wants to hop on there and take the quiz, you'll get a personalized scorecard with a whole bunch of recommendations that you can take action on right away. We've got 4 categories that we call the revenue pillars, and you'll have recommendations for all 4 categories, and you'll get your scorecard and give you some good direction to get you growing. So,
awesome.
All right.
let's go ahead and get rid of the screen share and I don't know if Steve Denny's still around, but if you want to turn the camera on and join us, Steve, that'd be great. Yeah, there you are.
Les, I think you had a question earlier.
Yeah, bring it on, Les. You had a comment or question?
Yeah, Steve, you're on mute in case you're trying to say something. So actually wasn't a question. You were just making me reflect on a book that was written, I don't know, 30 years ago, maybe. It was called Relationship Marketing by Regis McKenna.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the points he makes very powerfully is that we have this counterintuitive idea that the broader our range and focus, the more business we'll have. And he said that the more tremendously focused you are,
Mm-hmm.
the more likely that you're going to have a better and stronger business in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, there were a couple of analogies. I can't even remember what it was, but in a conversation I had with somebody afterwards, it was, you can say that you're an oceanographer, or you can say that you specialize in a certain kind of fish, or you can say that you specialize in the eyeballs of a certain kind of fish. And if you focus on the eyeballs, you're going to have a whole lot more business, because everybody on the planet is going to come to you who has an interest in that tiny, tiny focus.
Yep. Well said, Les. Thank you. RJ, Steve, thoughts, questions? Or Dean, you have a question for me? I'll dream up a question for you.
Excellent overview, guys. Thank you very much. Enjoyed it. And I got to tell you, Dean, I've told Tom this as well. I read every email he sends. It's typically the highlight of the day. He brings the goods every time.
He does. Yeah, especially his copywriting bots, right? That's the robot stories have been
the robots.
That was great.
Yep.
Yeah.
I told a story about robots in the mastermind book clubs. Les was there. Ted Padromo and I run this book club, and we were reading a book called Magic Words by Jonah Berger, talking about it today. And I shared the story of how last night I asked ChatGPT to create a summary of the book for me. Give me a 75-word summary of each chapter with bullet points below each summary to break down each chapter, and it did it. And as I read through, each heading for each of the chapters was not the name of the chapter. So I then reprompted it to redo this and make sure that you get the chapter names exactly as they are in the book. And it redid it, and the chapter names were exactly the same as they were in the first answer. And I wrote back and said, "Are you sure that these chapter names are right?" And he said, "Oh, sorry. Actually, this book was published just this month, March 2023. And if you've been playing with ChatGPT, you know that its knowledge goes it's only consumed up through the end of 2021. And its response was, "Oh, sorry, I made this all up. And so I've been writing a lot about how the bot is prone to just fabricate stuff. But what's interesting is that with the new version of GPT-4, it now continues to fabricate stuff. It just does so in a more authoritative and confident tone.
Yeah, you can feel good about the completely fictitious response, right? Yeah.
It's very convincing.
Yeah.
Well, and as the book Magic Words pointed out, as long as you are really convincing, it really doesn't matter if you're any good at your job.
Well, it matters if you choose to be an ethical being.
Yeah, only if you want to sleep at night.
Yeah, and that goes back to what we were talking about before, the mindset part of this. When I get pushback from people about sales and about marketing, a common one, for example, is I will teach around storytelling that you have to meet prospects where they are, and you have to talk about the problems they're having, the frustrations that they're experiencing, what's keeping them up at night. And because that's all about empathy. You have to be able to empathize and meet them where they are so that you can then paint the picture of the journey they may take, the other side of the mountain, the bridge they may cross. And I hear from a lot of people who say, well, I don't want to talk about those things. That's fear-based marketing. And my friend and one of my marketing mentors, Dave D, has a really important saying: the difference between ethical persuasion and unethical manipulation is intent. So if you intend to serve, if you are an ethical being providing real value, if you can mind your mindset and recognize that what you bring to the market is a gift, not a bottle of snake oil, then you should be able to recognize that, wait, this journey of empathize and envision and then enable the journey with your product and service is a gift that you're providing, not some unethical fear-based manipulation. No, it's meeting somebody where they are. It's painting a picture of the journey that they're going to take, and you are persuading them ethically to act in their own interest.
Yep.
That's hard for people to get their mind around, but if you're able to really embrace that and believe that, and it begins with the idea that, wait a minute, you better not be selling snake oil. If you're selling snake oil, all bets are off, unless you're selling snake oil for whatever purpose snake oil serves. What do people actually buy snake oil to do? Is there such a thing? I don't know. There's got to be a purpose.
Why don't you ask ChatGPT?
I'm doing it right now.
In a confident prompt, so you get a confident response, right?
Yeah. Hold on here.
Are there some benefits or appropriate uses for snake oil?
Yeah.
You'll get a response. I think intent is an important piece of all of this, right? I mean, that's just why we're in business and how we do what we do. And it's okay to convince somebody to do something that's good for them and that's good for you, right? If it's just good for you, then maybe the credibility is not there. But if it benefits them also, that's okay. You've got to be in business to benefit monetarily, otherwise you don't have a business. So yeah, people get stuck on that for sure. Yeah. Let's see. Any other comments or questions? What about this whole mindset thing, right? As a business owner, limiting beliefs, worrying about selling, how we create the roadblocks in our business. Any thoughts or things you've run across?
Bring it on, RJ.
Oh, okay. What I know is that I'm 0% woo. It's not me. And it's, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying not great for me. But my clients, boy, do they love some woo. And so it's been a challenging game, because for me, I know that I have enough talents and I'm putting forward enough good stuff that I do not have to become a master of woo. I just need to find some other folks that provide that thing that I don't provide, but I still want to provide some mindset stuff, for myself and for my audience, and getting the right, kind of material to help my audience is, it's paramount for me. So yeah, what you brought up today that really kind of struck me was make a habit. Mindset is a thing that floats back and forth, and it's something that needs a little bit of love every day. I have not been doing that. I do mine in fits and spurts. And so I think the first hurdle is getting that habit ingrained. And then the second hurdle is, of course, okay, who can I ask in my crowd to to talk about theirs a little bit, and maybe join me in providing some content for the audience.
Yeah, it's really interesting, your perspective on this, RJ. I would challenge the notion that mindset is synonymous with woo, and mindset often, or mindset practitioners often, traffic in woo. But I would suggest as an example that that Stoicism as a philosophy, and if look up Ryan Holiday and his email list, The Daily Stoic, that rooted in the notion that you should focus on only that which you can control. That's a fundamental belief of Stoicism. That's a really important mindset principle that I subscribe to, and there's nothing woo about that.
Right.
One of the mindset practices that I have and teach is, or I'll start by saying, one of the common mindset practices that many talk about and teach is the notion of a daily gratitude practice. Journal, or just in your bedtime prayers, express gratitude for someone, something that happened in the day, or just in general.
Yeah.
And express it, and that connects you with something. And that's not actually, there are people who say that there's a woo element that can come with that, but I just believe, that's not out there for me. And the part that I've adopted, and I didn't learn this from anybody, I just chose to do this, and now I teach this, is what I call the earned gratitude practice. So I, every night, will, in my journal, do the gratitude practice, express things or people for whom I have gratitude. And I will then note down 3 things or 3 people whose gratitude I've earned, whether they expressed it or not. I will make note of, something, I might write down tonight that I earned RJ's gratitude. I could have earned RJ's gratitude because I helped her gain perspective around mindset today. Whether you thank me for that or not, I celebrate the gifts that I give. And that's not, in my opinion, woo either. What that is about reminding myself of these very things that we've been talking about today. Remind yourself that you are bringing gifts to the world, not snake oil. Remind yourself that you are providing value, and that people benefit, and that people are grateful, whether they express it or not, for those things that you do and say and share and give. Mm-hmm. And so I think there are a lot of ways to work on your mindset that are not about energy and the universe and crystals and all that stuff, however you might define woo. And
that.
Yeah, okay, that there, yeah, Tom nailed it. And that my own journey with this comes from moving from a place of cynicism and doubt to a place of embracing it. So I feel it, RJ. Yeah. I tell the story. I'll look it up in a second and share it in the chat. I tell a story in one of my emails about how, when people started to talk to me about mindset back when I was a much younger person, what always jumped to mind was Stuart Smalley.
Yeah.
And the Saturday Night Live character, and my mindset was always, I'm not going to do that Stuart Smalley crap. And so there's a similar thing going on with you. I'm not going to do that woo-woo, crystal crap.
Yeah.
And no offense to anybody who embraces that and believes it. And I have some belief in that, but I get it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm
Tom, Tom, I'd like to build on what you just got done saying, if that's okay.
of course.
Are any of you familiar with a book called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Aker?
I am. Yes.
It is phenomenal.
Uh-huh.
The fundamental premise is that we operate generally from the perspective that success is what gives us happiness, when it's the other way around.
Right.
And he provides a number of different kinds of ways to gain the perspective, if you will, the mindset that put you in a position of happiness. And I've read the book, and I actually have a one-page thing that's called the Happiness Advantage Exercises. And it will take me about 2 minutes to read these exercises. And one is just exactly what you were talking about, 3 gratitudes. Write down 3 new things every day that you're grateful for. And here's what he says: the less significant, the better. Write down why you're grateful for them. Second thing is write down 1 significant event from the past 24 hours. Bullet point each detail you can remember about that event for 2 minutes. Just a significant event. Third thing is to do a form of cardiovascular exercise 15 minutes a day. Fourth one is meditation. It says for 2 minutes per day, sit still and pay attention to your breath as it goes in and out of your body, and a couple of other things. And the last one is conscious acts of kindness. Every day before you start work, take 2 minutes to write an email or text to thank or praise one person you know. Pick up a new person every day.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. And I especially love that point about the less significant, the better.
Yeah.
Because what's rooted in that whole thing is developing a habit of noticing.
Yeah.
Which is also something I talk about a lot, because developing habits of noticing, a habit of noticing is the foundation on which creativity is built. So when we notice the little stuff around us, we can gather those things. And so much of what I teach about storytelling is know what you need to know about your target market and about the lessons and tips that you wish to share. Okay. Discover their story and know the bridge that you're building to help them get from before to after. That's the foundational story discovery stuff. Then, if you're going to present that over and over and over again in a creative way, you have to develop a habit of noticing.
Yeah.
You have to be able to, when you read something in a book, realize that little thing I can blow up into a big story. And I can, that's the seed that has big meaning. That show I saw on television, that little thing that somebody said, that thing that my client just expressed is meaningful. What you just said about the little things matter most. Please send me that PDF, by the way.
I will. I'll send you this, and you might want to consider the Happiness Advantage as one of our
It's one of the books, right?
books for the book club.
Yeah, and the moment you said that, the little things, or the focus on the little things, my mind went, oh, that's
Atomic
an email.
Habits.
No, it went, that's an email next week.
Yeah.
And the reason it went, that's an email next week, is because I've developed the habit of noticing the seeds that blossom into emails. And so thank you for sharing that. That's powerful.
Sure.
I just shared Stuart Smalley in the chat. And the other thing I wanted to share is While snake oil has become synonymous with fraudulent or ineffective products, the term originates from the traditional use of oil derived from the Chinese water snake. This oil, which is rich in omega-3 fatty acids, such as one I can't pronounce that's abbreviated EPA, and another that I can't pronounce that's abbreviated DHA, has been used in traditional medicine for centuries. Some potential benefits of snake oil, specifically oil derived from Chinese water snakes, include anti-inflammatory, cardiovascular health,
There you
brain health,
go.
skin health. Thank you. My robot is so very helpful. Now, that may all be bullshit, but
It sounds like the health benefits of avocado oil or EVOO. I mean, right? You know,
Yeah.
what's particularly special?
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
fun.
we'll see.
That's,
I'll
All
look
right,
it up.
guys. Well, I got to run, but thanks for a great session this afternoon.
yeah.
Thanks very
for
much,
joining
Thanks
Les.
for the
us.
invitation, Tom.
Yeah, good seeing you back to back.
Okay.
And RJ, stick around for 1 sec.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Les.
Stop recording.